If someone had told me desire could arrive like a ceasefire instead of a siren, I wouldn't have listened. The church overflowed. Rows of white roses traced the aisle, their heavy sweetness mingling with the perfume of guests dressed in their finest. A low current of whispers threaded the space, but all I could hear was the frantic thud of my heart. I stood at the altar, fists knotted, my wedding dress cinching like a vice. I had dreamed about this day, replayed it 1,000 times, but never once did I picture myself standing here alone. She's not coming. The words landed like a slap. I snapped my head toward Sloane's best friend, Lena, who hovered off to the side, avoiding my eyes. The pews seemed to press in as faces turned. My mouth went dry. Around me, the murmurs swelled, shifting from bright excitement to sharp scandal. My breath came in short gasps as I tried to process it. She left? My voice cracked. Lena swallowed hard. She left with someone else. Silence. Then laughter. Low, cruel, from somewhere in the crowd. My vision blurred as whispers turned to full-blown gossip. Sloane had left me at the altar. Not just that, she had left with someone else. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to run away humiliated. If Sloane thought she could make a fool out of me in front of everyone, she was wrong. And then I saw her. Veronica Hale. Sloane's mother. She stood near the entrance of the church, a vision of elegance in a fitted black dress, her piercing blue eyes locked onto mine. Unlike everyone else, she wasn't whispering. She wasn't pitying me. She was watching. Calculating. A slow, dangerous smirk curved my lips. Fine. If Sloane wanted to ruin me, I'd make sure I ruined her first. So, with deliberate steps, I walked off the altar, straight toward Veronica Hale. And when I reached her, I whispered the words that would change everything. Take me home. The second Veronica and I stepped out of the church, the whispers turned into full-blown gasps. I didn't care. Let them talk. Let them spread rumors. I was done being the humiliated bride. Veronica's car was sleek and black, just like her dress, just like the expression she wore as she gestured for me to get in. My heart was still hammering, but not from sadness anymore. From adrenaline. From anger. From something else entirely. The second we were inside, she turned to me, her blue eyes sharp, calculating. You really want to do this? Her voice was smooth, low, dangerous. I met her gaze without hesitation. Yes. She tilted her head, watching me like a predator assessing its prey. But I wasn't prey. Not tonight. Then let's go. The drive to her house was silent. Not awkward, not tense, just charged. The air between us crackled like a live wire. I could feel her stealing glances at me, as if trying to read my mind, but I wasn't thinking straight. I wasn't thinking at all. I was acting. I was reacting. And when we finally arrived at her estate, a massive, modern mansion perched on a hill, I felt the weight of what I was about to do settle in my chest. This was Sloane's mother. The woman who had raised the person who just left me at the altar. Veronica led me inside, her heels clicking against the marble floor. She didn't turn on the lights. The house was bathed in the soft glow of the city below, casting shadows that made her look even more intoxicating. She poured herself a drink, then poured one for me. When she handed me the glass, her fingers brushed against mine. Deliberate. Slow. A test. I took a sip, the burn of the alcohol barely registered compared to the fire in my veins. So, she murmured, watching me over the rim of her glass. Tell me, is this revenge? Or do you just want to know what it's like to be with a real woman? My breath caught in my throat. Veronica's smirk said she knew exactly what she was doing. I set my glass down with a soft clink and stepped in. She didn't retreat. She held my gaze, steady, incisive, daring. If you don't want this, I managed, keeping my voice even despite the storm inside, tell me to stop. A beat. One tight heartbeat. Then, silk over steel, Veronica murmured, make me forget she ever existed. So I did. The first thing I noticed was the tiny catch in her breath when I leaned in, barely there, but I felt it, heard it, and it propelled me forward. My hands moved on instinct, skimming the satin of her dress, heat rising from her skin beneath. Veronica stayed very still, like she was waiting to see if I'd falter, if I'd break. I wouldn't. I was finished being left behind. I was done being Sloane's fool. Her lips parted, and before doubt could breathe, I closed the distance. She didn't flinch. She met me. The moment she kissed back, everything else burned away, the humiliation, the church whispers, the ache in my chest. All that remained was this, her fingers threading into my hair, the sharp pull that sent a shiver straight through me. I'd expected restraint, calculation. Instead she seized the moment, claiming it, claiming me. It was intoxicating. I barely registered the cold marble of her living room wall at my spine, her knee nudging mine apart. The wedding dress, my wedding dress, felt like a cruel joke now, a relic of a life that never was. She must have felt it, too, because her fingers found the tiny buttons along my back, working them loose, her mouth trailing my jaw, my throat. "You looked beautiful today," she breathed, voice roughened. "Shame no one got to enjoy it." I laughed, breathless. "I'm still in it." She leaned back just enough to take me in, eyes dark with something I couldn't read. Then, slow and certain, not for long. Heat flashed through me so fast it left me dizzy. She peeled the dress away piece by piece, unfastening not just fabric but everything Sloane had stamped on me. I let her. I wanted her to. When she eased me onto the velvet couch and hovered above, that ferocious focus returned, and a realization slid in, this wasn't only revenge anymore. It was something else, unnamed, volatile, and I was already too far gone to turn back. Her weight over me grounded and unspooled me at once. The outside world fell away, no watching eyes, no muttered judgments, no vows in shards. Just her, the heat of her skin, the sure press of her mouth, her hands finding precisely where to touch, how to strip the pain from my body until it felt like smoke. Her fingers traced the line of my collarbone, drifting lower, slow, deliberate, as though committing me to memory. My breath caught when she kissed just beneath my ear, a dark whisper against my skin, "Is this what you wanted?" I didn't answer with words. I pulled her closer, nails pressing into her back, my legs tangling with hers, trying to show her how much I needed this, needed the fire to cauterize the betrayal and the shame. She understood. Veronica was nothing like Sloane. There was no hesitation, no careful, cautious touches. She was fire and confidence, a woman who knew exactly what she wanted and took it. And right now, she wanted me. I gasped as she moved lower, her lips skimming over my bare skin, her hands following. Every touch, every kiss felt like a punishment and a reward all at once, like she was reclaiming every part of me Sloane had abandoned. I should have been thinking about that. About how wrong this was. How reckless. How dangerous. But I wasn't. I was lost in her. In the way she owned me in that moment. And God, I let her. It wasn't until much later, when my breathing had slowed and the storm in my chest had settled, that I let myself think. Veronica lay beside me, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on my arm. She wasn't saying anything, and for a moment, I wondered if she regretted it. I turned my head to look at her, searching for something in her expression. Guilt. Second thoughts. Hesitation. But I didn't find any of it. Instead, I found a woman looking at me with a mix of amusement and something else, something undeniably dangerous. "You're not in love with her anymore," Veronica murmured. It wasn't a question. I swallowed, my throat dry. "I don't know what I feel." She smirked. "Liar." A sharp breath left my lips, but before I could argue, she sat up, stretching in a way that was both effortless and sinful. Then, with an air of nonchalance, she stood, reaching for the silk robe draped over the armchair. I watched her move, my mind a mess of emotions I wasn't ready to unpack. But then she turned back to me, her gaze locking onto mine with that same unreadable expression. "This wasn't just revenge," she said, again. Not a question. A statement. I felt my pulse stutter. She was right. But I couldn't say it. Veronica let the silence stretch between us for a moment longer before she smirked, shaking her head like she already knew the answer. "Come on," she said, offering her hand. "Let's get out of here." I frowned, confused. "Go where?" She leaned in, her lips brushing my ear as she whispered, "To really ruin Sloane's life." And just like that, I realized this was only the beginning. I should have stopped. I should have asked myself what the hell I was doing, why I was letting Veronica pull me deeper into something so twisted, so dangerous. But I didn't. I took her hand. We left her house in the middle of the night, the city buzzing with life as we drove through the streets. Veronica didn't tell me where we were going, and I didn't ask. I just sat in the passenger seat, still wearing the remnants of my ruined wedding night, my hair a mess, my body humming from her touch, my mind a whirlwind of emotions I couldn't process. She drove like she lived, recklessly, confidently, without hesitation, one hand on the wheel, the other resting casually on my bare thigh, a silent reminder of everything that had just happened. After a while, she finally spoke. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $sign icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you. You know what hurts people like Sloane the most? I glanced at her, my stomach tightening. What? Veronica smirked, her fingers pressing just a little harder into my skin. Knowing they're replaceable. A shiver ran down my spine. I should have been scared. Maybe even disgusted. But instead, I felt something dark, something almost satisfying. She pulled into the parking lot of a high-end rooftop bar, one of those places where the elite drank overpriced cocktails and whispered secrets they thought no one else could hear. Before I could ask why we were here, Veronica was already out of the car, walking around to open my door like I was royalty. I stepped out, suddenly hyper-aware of the way people were staring. I wasn't the broken bride anymore. I wasn't the abandoned fool. I was standing next to Veronica Hale. And that alone was enough to set the entire city on fire. Inside, the bar was dimly lit, the air thick with perfume and expensive whiskey. We walked through the crowd like we owned the place, like we were untouchable. People whispered my name, her name, the scandal already spreading like wildfire. And then I saw her. Sloane. She was sitting at a private booth, her arm draped around someone else. Someone younger. Someone new. It felt like a slap, like all the air had been sucked from the room. My stomach twisted, my fingers curling into fists. But before I could react, Veronica's hand was on my waist, grounding me, reminding me why we were here. So I smiled. And then, just as Sloane looked up and locked eyes with me, I kissed Veronica. It wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It was desperate and messy and full of everything I wanted Sloane to feel. And it worked. Her face paled. Her jaw tightened. Her grip on the other woman wavered. Veronica, always one step ahead, deepened the kiss, her fingers tangling in my hair, her body pressing against mine like she wanted to leave a mark. By the time she pulled away, I was breathless. And Sloane? She looked ready to burn the whole place down. But she had no right. Not anymore. Veronica leaned into me, her lips brushing my ear as she whispered, "Now the fun begins." And I realized something terrifying. This wasn't about revenge anymore. I wanted her. The silence between us was deafening. Sloane's gaze burned into me from across the bar, a mix of shock, jealousy, and something else, something ugly. But she had no right to look at me like that. No right to feel anything. She left me. She humiliated me. And now, I wasn't just moving on. I was moving on with her mother. Veronica's fingers traced absent patterns on my waist, a silent reminder that she was still touching me, still owning this moment. And when she finally pulled back from our kiss, she didn't even bother looking at Sloane. Instead, she studied me, like she was measuring my reaction, gauging if I was ready to go even further. I was. I turned to the bar, pretending Sloane wasn't even there. "I need a drink." My voice was steady, but my hands trembled just slightly as I reached for the glass Veronica ordered for me. I took a long sip, letting the burn of the alcohol ground me. Veronica smirked. "Good girl." The words sent a shiver down my spine. But before I could react, Sloane was already moving toward us. "Unbelievable," she spat, her voice laced with something close to rage. "Really, Veronica? Her?" I turned my seat, forcing myself to look at her. She was just as beautiful as ever, her blonde hair falling in soft waves, her emerald green eyes narrowed in fury. But for the first time, she didn't look powerful. She looked small. Veronica didn't even flinch. She took a slow sip of her wine before setting the glass down with an elegant clink. "Problem, sweetheart?" Sloane's jaw clenched. "You're disgusting." Veronica only chuckled, crossing her legs. "You left her at the altar, and now you have a problem with who she's spending her time with?" She tilted her head. "Grow up, Sloane." The words hit like a slap. Sloane's lips parted, but she had no comeback. No excuse. She had nothing. So she turned to me. "And you?" She snapped, her voice sharp, desperate. "Are you serious right now? This is revenge? You're screwing my mother to get back at me?" I lifted my drink to my lips, staring at her over the rim of the glass. Who said anything about revenge? Sloane's breath hitched. And that was when I saw it. That flicker of panic. Because this wasn't just about revenge anymore. This wasn't a game she could win. She had already lost. Veronica smirked, clearly enjoying this more than she should. Run along, darling, she said smoothly. Or stay and watch. I don't mind either way. Sloane's face burned red, her hands balling into fists at her sides. For a second, I thought she might actually throw her drink at me. But instead, she turned on her heel and stormed out of the bar, shoving past people like they were nothing. I exhaled, my body still tense, my pulse still racing. It was done. Veronica's fingers brushed over mine. How do you feel? I turned to her. She looked pleased with herself, like a queen who had just won a war. And I realized something. I didn't feel relieved. I felt hungry. For more of her. So I leaned in, brushing my lips against her ear. Take me home. Veronica's smirk deepened. Gladly. And just like that, I followed her out into the night. No regrets. No second thoughts. And no idea what the hell I had just started. The second we stepped out of the bar, Veronica grabbed my hand. Not gently. Not hesitantly. It was possessive. Firm. Like she owned this moment. Like she owned me. And maybe, in some twisted way, she did. The night air was thick, the city buzzing around us, but all I could hear was my pulse hammering in my ears. Sloane's expression was still burned into my mind, the shock, the jealousy, the realization that I wasn't hers anymore. That I had never really been. And now I was walking into the night with her mother. Veronica steered me toward her car, pinning me to the door before I could catch up to what was happening. The metal was cold at my back. Her mouth hovered a breath away, heat ghosting over my skin. You did so well in there, she murmured, amusement lacing her voice. Did you see her face? I don't think I've ever seen Sloane so. A tilt of her head. Unhinged. I swallowed. Good. Her smirk sharpened. You like this, don't you? She already knew. Her fingers trailed down my arm, slow and taunting, like she was playing a game I hadn't learned yet. I wasn't backing down. I fisted the collar of her dress and pulled her into a kiss. This time, I took control. And she let me. The drive to her place blurred, just the pulse in my ears and her hand gripping my thigh, squeezing, teasing, unraveling my thoughts. By the time we stumbled through her front door, my body was already aflame for her. She pressed me to the wall, hands sliding beneath my dress, mouth everywhere at once. I moaned into her kiss, lost in her, in the way she broke me down so easily. I wanted to resent how quickly she could undo me, but I couldn't. I'd led us here. I wanted this. I wanted her. When she lifted me and carried me down the hall, whispering filthy promises against my skin, a truth cut through the haze, this wasn't only about Sloane anymore. This wasn't only revenge. I was falling, and I had no idea how to stop. I should have stopped. I should have named it too far, too dangerous, too wrong. But when Veronica eased me onto her bed and hovered above with that knowing smirk and eyes gone dark, I understood there was no turning back. Not now. Not ever. She kissed me like she meant to leave a claim, like she wanted to ensure that after tonight, I could never think of Sloane without thinking of her. Maybe that was exactly what I needed. Her hands mapped me, arms, waist, hips, unhurried and deliberate, feeding the ache she'd sparked. The silk sheets were cool against my heated skin, a stark contrast to the press of her body. I arched toward her, greedy for more, for something I didn't have words for. She laughed softly at my impatience. Look at you, she breathed against my ear. So eager. Are you sure this isn't just about revenge anymore? I didn't answer. We both knew. This wasn't about Sloane. Not anymore. Veronica didn't wait for my reply. She already had it. And when she finally gave me what I wanted, what we both wanted, the rest dissolved, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the scandal. There was only her. Only this. Only the way she ruined me. When I woke up, the morning light was filtering through the massive windows, painting the room in soft gold. The scent of Veronica's perfume still clung to my skin, and for a brief, blissful moment, I forgot everything. Until I turned over and saw her watching me. She was already awake, propped up on one elbow, a lazy smirk playing at her lips. Good morning, sweetheart. Her voice was low, husky from sleep, and it sent a shiver down my spine. I swallowed, my throat dry. Morning. Her fingers traced slow circles on my bare shoulder, her touch gentle in a way I wasn't expecting. It unnerved me, because last night had been passion, fire, destruction. But this? This was intimate. And I didn't know what to do with that. Veronica seemed to read my thoughts, because she chuckled softly, leaning in just enough for her lips to brush against mine. Regretting it already? I hesitated. I should regret it. I should feel guilty, ashamed, something. But I didn't. I shook my head. No. Her smirk deepened. Good. She kissed me again, slow and lingering, like she had all the time in the world. And maybe she did. But I didn't. Because as much as I wanted to stay tangled in these sheets, lost in her, I knew reality was waiting. And the second I checked my phone, I saw exactly what was waiting for me. 72 missed calls from Sloane. And just like that, the world came crashing back. My stomach twisted as I stared at the screen. 72 missed calls. The sight of Sloane's name made my pulse stutter, my fingers tightening around the phone. It wasn't just calls. There were messages, too. Each one more frantic than the last. Sloane, we need to talk. Sloane, I swear to God, pick up the phone. Sloane, what the hell are you doing with her? Sloane, you're making a mistake. A huge mistake. Veronica shifted beside me, propping herself up on one elbow, watching me with amusement. Let me guess, she drawled. Your ex-fiancé suddenly cares? I swallowed hard. I didn't know what I was feeling. Satisfaction? Guilt? Power? But Veronica was right. Sloane had abandoned me. She had left me humiliated. And now, after all of that, she was the one losing her mind. I took a slow breath and locked my phone, tossing it onto the nightstand. She doesn't matter. Veronica's smirk deepened. Liar. I turned to her sharply, but she only laughed. Relax, sweetheart. It doesn't bother me. In fact, I quite enjoy watching Sloane unravel over this. She leaned in, her lips grazing my jaw. But tell me something. Are you unraveling, too? My breath caught. But I didn't answer, because the truth was, I didn't know. I had started this thinking it was revenge. That sleeping with Veronica would destroy Sloane the way she had destroyed me. And it had. But now I wasn't sure who was destroying who anymore. Veronica's fingers skimmed down my arm, her touch light, teasing. You don't have to run from it, you know, she murmured. Whatever this is. I exhaled slowly, my body still tangled in the warmth of hers, but my mind was elsewhere. I needed to think. I needed space. So I sat up, pulling the sheets around me. I should go. Veronica raised a brow but didn't stop me. She simply leaned back against the pillows, watching me with that same unreadable smirk. Of course. Run if you need to. I froze. I'm not running. She chuckled. Aren't you? I hated how easily she could see through me. I hated that she was right. I got dressed in silence, feeling her gaze on me the entire time. When I finally turned back to face her, she was still lounging in bed, looking completely unbothered, like she already knew I'd be back. She was probably right. But I left anyway. The second I stepped outside, my phone buzzed again. Another call from Sloane. This time, I answered. Where the hell are you? Her voice was sharp, demanding, desperate. I took a slow breath. What do you want, Sloane? Silence. A heavy pause. Then, I made a mistake. My heart clenched. My fingers curled around the phone. I should have felt something. Anger. Satisfaction. Anything. But all I could think about was Veronica, and how it didn't matter anymore. I stood there, Sloane's voice ringing in my ear, but it felt distant, like an echo from a life I no longer belonged to. A mistake? She was finally saying it. Finally admitting what I had been desperate to hear the day she left me humiliated in front of hundreds of people. But now that the words were here, now that she was begging me to listen, I felt nothing. Did you hear me? Sloane's voice wavered slightly, an edge of panic creeping in. I was scared, okay? I didn't know how to handle it. I exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of my nose. You didn't just leave, Sloane. You ran away with someone else. Do you even remember her name? Silence. I let out a bitter laugh. That's what I thought. I don't care about her. She snapped. I care about you. No, Sloane. My voice was calm, steady, honest. You care about losing. You care that I moved on. And you hate that it's with her. Her breath hitched. You think I don't know you? I continued. You don't regret leaving. You regret that I didn't stay broken for you. Don't say that, her voice cracked. Please. I closed my eyes, swallowing down the last remnants of whatever we used to be. I deserved better than what you did to me. I know, she whispered. And I can be better. Just give me a chance to fix this. There it was. The plea. A few days earlier, I might have considered it. I might have ached for it. But now I knew exactly what I wanted, and it wasn't Sloane. I glanced back at Veronica's house, at the life I hadn't planned for but suddenly couldn't imagine leaving. She had unraveled me. She had ruined me. She had saved me. I lifted the phone to my ear, my heart steady. No, Sloane. A pause. A breath. A choice. We're done. I hung up before she could say anything else. The weight of it settled in my chest, not as pain, but as freedom. I turned to find Veronica leaning in the doorway, arms crossed, watching me with a mix of amusement and approval. You're still here, she murmured. I met her eyes, sure, steady, unafraid. I am. A slow smirk curved her mouth. Good. She offered her hand, an invitation, a challenge, and when I took it, I wasn't thinking about revenge. I wasn't thinking about Sloane. I was thinking about her. And I didn't look back.